Climate change is a big world issue around the world. But do you know what climate change is? Higher temperatures and more powerful storms are examples of weather climate change. Although the weather changes naturally, since the 1800s human activities have caused most of these changes, such as burning fossil fuels like coal, oil and gas. This creates gases that trap heat and make the Earth warm. As the Earth gets warmer and warmer, we see more issues like sea level rise, stronger storms, floods, droughts, extreme summers and many other changes. These affect the environment, animals and people's lives as well. While climate change is occurring around the world, some regions are more impacted than others. For instance, in Canada, the north is melting, temperatures are rising, and in Australia, wildfires. Countries lose billions of dollars to recover from all the influences. Climate change is affecting all around the world. Countries in Africa, the Middle East and South Asia are most impacted by climate change. These regions are the hottest regions on the planet because they are near the equator line. One of the other reasons these countries are hotter is that these countries have deserts in them. For example, around 38 degrees Celsius, Saudi Arabia is in a desert. The UAE also has a desert. The desert theory mostly fits in Middle Eastern countries. Others fit with the nearness of the equator line. Now you would be wondering why the countries near the equator are hotter than others. This is because our Earth is round, so when the sun's rays come to Earth, they focus on the middle part more. The bad thing is that these countries are getting hotter because of climate change. Climate change is worse in other parts of the world. In Africa, higher temperatures and drought make it hard for people to live and grow food. This leads to hunger and poverty in the countries. Islands like the Maldives are more threatened by sea rising and could flood their homes in the future. Over the years, climate change has been the reason behind more extreme weather events. In Australia, the wildfires of 2019-2020 were the worst in the history of the Earth. The 2019-2020 Australian bushfire season, also known as Black Summer, burned thousands of acres. Another big problem is rising sea levels. The oceans are getting higher because of climate change, which puts islands at risk. If this continues, countries like the Maldives could lose much of their land by the year 2050. This will affect them as their biggest source of income is tourism. Climate change doesn't only affect the environment, it has an impact on people in many ways. In Africa, millions of people are suffering from hunger and poverty. Droughts and floods are making it harder to grow food in Africa. Approximately around 19 million people are suffering due to climate change in Africa. Here in Canada, Canadians are affected by climate change, but Indigenous people are also affected by climate change. For example, Indigenous people live their own traditional ways. Climate change makes their life harder by melting ice. They find it harder to hunt fish and store food. Canada is also dealing with floods and wildfires. In 2021, Canada had a massive flood due to heavy rain. It cost Canada around $1 billion in damages. Climate change affects everyone, but it's not always the same for everyone. Before breaking down climate change into 4 parts, I definitely want to talk about the wildfire in Los Angeles because it is completely a topic of climate change. Los Angeles was a very beautiful city. It has many things to entertain, like the home of the Hollywood sign, Universal Studios, and other attractions. It was a city of entertainment. But before January 7th, a dangerous wildfire started. It started so fast that within 5 hours it became unstoppable. The whole of America got shocked by this fire. The reports are now saying that 25 people died due to the fire, and it made 100,000 people displaced from their houses. Damages were billions of dollars. Now the main question comes, how come firefighters couldn't stop the fire? This is because of the geography of Los Angeles. 100 miles per hour wind gives a spark to the fire and makes it spread too fast. This is also the reason we couldn't stop it from January 7th to today, January 17th. The fire has spread and is now almost unstoppable. We hope that America will control the fire totally. Now let's break it down into 4 parts: social, environmental, economic, and political effects. Social effects. In places like Africa, people are becoming poorer because of climate change. People cannot grow food there because of extreme heat and droughts, which leads to hunger and diseases. In many places, people are forced to leave their homes because of natural disasters like floods, wildfires, or rising sea levels. Have you wondered why half of Asia is like this? This is because the area of India, China, and Pakistan is the world's most agricultural region. People lived for crops, and now the population lives here. Environmental effects. Our Earth is suffering a lot due to climate change. Rising temperatures and sea levels are causing floods, and extreme weather is harming animals. Polar bears are losing their homes in the Arctic. Farmers are also struggling because of floods and droughts. Such as, in India, people lost their crops because of floods. In Brazil, about 83 people died, and 123,000 people were displaced from their houses because of flooding. Economic effects. Climate change costs billions of dollars to recover from. In Australia, the 2019 to 2020 wildfire cost between $69 billion to $159 billion to recover. This included rebuilding infrastructure, people's health, and other things. In Africa, droughts and other issues cost billions of dollars. Recently, Southern Africa required $5.5 billion to address the risk of hunger and disease. For Canada, climate change could slow its economy by $25 billion annually by 2025. Political effects. All countries in the world are affected by climate change, so they are working together to stop this. The Paris Agreement was signed in 2016. It is one of the biggest international agreements on taking action on climate change. Canada is also part of this agreement, and it promises to cut down greenhouse gas emissions and support other countries. Conclusion: climate change is one of the biggest challenges facing the world today. It is causing many serious issues to people, to environments, and to economies. But we can hope that we will get control of this.